Most of the time, when something big starts happening in one country, it does not mean that the rest of the world can feel at ease and not care about it. Hearing the word recession often does not create panic for many people. This is probably because many of us still do not understand the weight that this event holds. To be fair, people think that it is just about a single chart that holds a huge number, and the deal breaker would be if the lines are going to go up or down. If we put it that way, it does sound really simple and complicated at the same time. Because how could a chart and some lines affect the economy significantly? Give it a pause though, and do not think too much into these for now. We will be getting into the important parts in a few minutes later, but if we are going to define recession the way economists and experts talk about it, then this is a specific and prolonged decline in economic activity. This is being talked about more these days, and economists are always debating about the issue. The last recession that happened in the US was only about 2 years ago. Even though this was considered the shortest downturn in the US economy, as it was able to bounce back earlier than some expected, many experts were still claiming that another recession is possible to hit this year. That is why we are going to equip you with the right knowledge about recession, so that you will be able to know what to do when it happens. Besides the fact that this is a pretty complicated topic, especially when it is being discussed on television or the news, it is also a broad subject. But we are going to explain it as simply as possible. This is a very important matter, considering that being in a recession would affect our livelihood, wealth, careers, and plans for the future. In this video, we will discuss about the following. What is recession? What causes recession? What happens during a recession? How long could a recession last? What are some indicators that could warn us if a recession is coming? What should you do before a recession? Now, let us get right into it. What is recession? You must be wondering as to why it was called recession in the first place. Well, it is because depression or crisis are kind of big words that may cause people to panic. Remember what happened during the Great Depression? The economy suffered for almost 10 years, which affected not only a single country, but the entirety of the world. You see, if economists and governments still call these economic crises as depression, what do you think people would do? When people panic and start doing things without fully understanding the whole situation, it will cause more problems like misinformation, anxiety, threats, and a lot more, which would make the root cause of the recession harder to solve. This commonly happens when there are at least 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP. Let us say that you have a booming business, and you were making a profit for years already. Then you made a decision that affected the whole system of your business in a bad way. Because of this, you notice that your profit is declining steadily for 2 consecutive quarters already, since there is less demand for your product. You would then decide to cut costs through laying off some of your workers. If this happens, you have to be worried, because that is what a recession would look like if you think of your business as the country and the decline in your profit as the decline in the GDP charts. We now know how greatly the economy in different countries changed throughout time. Back in the 1300s, the economy was very different, as it was mostly based on agriculture or war. Until now, these two can also cause recession. But these are not the only things that economists will look at to predict a recession. We now have all these businesses, huge companies, restaurants, technology, and so on. All of these, everything that you are buying and consuming in your country, will all add up to a very huge amount, which is referred to as GDP. This could have a more technical definition, but let us look at this as everything that contributes to the monetary growth of a country. So what really causes recession? Where does it even start? What causes recession? As the economy is affected by a lot of factors, many things can also cause a country to be in a recession. By taking a long look way back at the GDP chart of the United States, you might notice some dips, even though the chart is continuously going up. Why is it going up though? Of course, more and more services and products are being introduced in the market. People are always trying to create something better than what we already have right now, and this will continue to be the case. By hearing the word recession, it can easily take us to what happened in 2008, when there was a financial crisis caused by excess debt in the housing market. Recently, the United States, and I bet many other countries, have also fallen into a recession because of COVID-19. It was unexpected, and many countries were unprepared to deal with the pandemic. This event affected lives. Many lost their loved ones, people lost their jobs, which led to less spending as well. The line in the GDP charts of different countries dramatically dropped, but many, including the United States, were able to get out of that already. There is no single reason why recession happens. Everything that affects the economy can possibly cause a recession. Because of this, there is really no way to predict what will cause the next recession, but it will eventually happen. As we have noticed, every time there is a recession, the economy would bounce back and would be on the rise again. Basically, it is something that should and naturally happens. Although not everyone could survive every recession, the country as a whole will be recovering eventually. These downturns in the GDP are needed to balance things out, to correct and clear out some things in order to get the economy ready for another expansion. This is what you would also hear most of the time from traders. They evaluate the things that would possibly affect their portfolio before making decisions. Many would say that it is normal and it will eventually skyrocket because it already happened before. Although recession and downturns in the economy is something that should be taken seriously, we cannot really control it. Occasional downturns are expected, especially if there are new players that would affect the flow of the economy. Just like COVID-19, nobody foresaw this. People were not ready when a pandemic struck. This disrupted the flow of the economy since it unexpectedly came into the picture. This would likely happen again, and we cannot really say what would be the next thing that would disrupt the flow of the economy. As much as we know that it will eventually end, it would never really ease the worries of the people, especially if they are not as rich as these millionaires and billionaires. Having said this and knowing that even though a recession is something that affects the economy as a whole, there would be people that would feel the effects right away. But there are also others who would not know that it was happening. This is why investors and other rich people are always analyzing the markets and the events that would likely affect the economy. They use these resources to know where they are going to put their money. Yes, we might be a small grain in this equation, but being informed and continuously learning about the economy and how it affects our daily lives would benefit us in the long run. Remember that no matter what investments or job you currently have, this will be affected by recession once it happens. What happens during a recession? More often than not, people would feel the effects of recession when big companies and dominating businesses are already laying off a huge number of their employees. Since there would be fewer sales and revenues during this time, the goal is to lessen the cost as much as possible. Not only will the economic output and employment rate drop, but the interest rates can possibly decline as well. The central bank would do this to at least aid and support the economy. Additionally, you would notice that the price of the goods and services are at an all-time high because of the rising inflation rate. What worries the masses is definitely unemployment and the rise of the cost of living. So how long should people hang tight to survive the next recession? For sure, many are already thinking if what they currently have would be enough to get through this event. How long could a recession last? Recessions might not last very long, but its effects on the people and the economy is palpable. On average, it can possibly go on from 2 to 18 months. Investors, business people, and traders could somehow take advantage of these situations, but those who do not have an established financial plan and only rely on their 9-to-5 jobs would not easily survive those months. That's why the panic of people when hearing about the possibility of recession is understandable. For others, it is something that happens naturally and would eventually pass. For many, it is a big deal as it can wreck their lives and source of income. So how can we help these people prepare if we do not really know when a recession would come? What are some indications that could warn us if a recession is coming? We can only hope to know exactly when the next recession will be. Despite the fact that it is unpredictable, there are still some indicators that we can look into to at least have an idea of what is about to happen. Since there are multiple factors affecting the economy, it would be helpful to look at several aspects where there might be concerning imbalances or excesses. A decline in GDP over 2 consecutive quarters is one of the most widely used indicators of a recession. Some of the factors that can help in predicting the flow of the economy are consumer sentiments, housing starts, yield curve, and of course, unemployment rate. These are also what business analysts and financial experts are mostly looking into before they make some predictions. And according to many, these signals are showing that the US would likely go into another recession. We know by now, the economy could bounce back stronger and the expansion would be bigger, but it would not stop the people from worrying about how they can even survive those times. But there could always be a new player that nobody saw coming. New data or new discoveries can immediately put us into recession. These indicators do not give any guarantees, but it will surely help us put together a plan. So, is there anything you can do to stay afloat even during recessions? What should you do before a recession? Now that we know that a recession is out of our control and that there is no way to say when it will strike, all we can do is prepare so that when the next recession comes, it would not sink us into debt, or worse, leave us with nothing to start with. The best way to deal with any financial crisis is to have a diversified fund. First, if it is possible, do not rely solely on your regular job for everything that you need. If you can invest, start with what you know and what you are interested in. Of course, it will all boil down to financial literacy and awareness. The more you know about how money works, the more you can make money work for you and survive tough financial situations. Second, having an emergency fund would greatly help you in getting through recessions. You would not panic and lose hope if you know that you have set aside an amount that will allow you to deal with a crisis for a few months. Third, and as cliché as it sounds, you should expect the unexpected. If you plan ahead of time and you are knowledgeable to deal with these things, then you will not be trapped in a situation that you cannot deal with. I have more to talk about money, but I guess that would be for another topic, so make sure that you watch our other videos to learn more. Bottom line, recession may be unpredictable, but you can easily notice if we are under one if there is a negative or declining GDP for 2 straight quarters. This is not the only thing that analysts would look at, because factors like unemployment would also play a huge role in a recession. High unemployment rate is always bad news, especially if the drop is steadily moving. Companies would need fewer staff since the demand for goods and services would also fail during a recession. This would be a domino effect, as the laid-off workers would then be tight on their budgets, resulting in even lesser demands. Remember that a lot can change, especially that there are many things involved in affecting our economy. A recession affects individual lives, but it somehow corrects the imbalances in the economy, which would then turn into something better for the entirety of a country. Even though the charts and all these technical terms would not immediately make sense for some, all of us would feel the effect of a recession. The thing, though, is that some people were able to prepare for it because they are aware that it is going to happen one way or another. By trying to educate yourself through watching contents like this to better understand complicated concepts, you are doing yourself and your loved ones a favor. What do you think is the most important lesson you have picked up on this video? Comment your thoughts below. Let us all be prepared, financially literate, and knowledgeable about money and economy through subscribing to our channel. Like our video and do not forget to turn on your notifications so you can be updated whenever we have a new upload.